My name is Keisuke Inoue, lead data scientist at Wade and Wendy, an AI startup for recruit automation. In today's talk, I'd like to describe one of our ongoing projects, which is developing the next generation of one of our chatbots called Wendy. Recruiters today are facing enormous challenges. The historically high unemployment rate due to COVID-19 and the rapid shift in the working environment to the remote and virtual environment, while many companies and organizations are still struggling and not able to adjust to these sudden changes. After all, recruiters are all human too. They have limited time and capacity, while recruiting process is very time-consuming. Recruiting process is time-consuming because it consists of various tedious and inefficient tasks, calibrating job requirements, identifying talents to engage, and then screening and interviewing applicants, and finally reviewing interviews and evaluating applications, and so on. All these tasks require a lot of time and attention, making the whole process very costly and inefficient. Here at Wade and Wendy, we provide solutions to automate these tasks using data-driven approaches, NLP, and machine learning. So let's meet Wendy. Wendy is one of our two AI chatbots, namely Wade and Wendy. There is a philosophical discussion between what is the difference between Wade and Wendy, which is a little bit out of scope of this talk, but simply put, Wade basically tries to find the right job for a talent, while Wendy tries to find the right talent for a given job. So Wendy performs these 4 key tasks for you. 1, identifying job requirements. And 2, designing interview to identify the right talent. And 3, conducting interviews with the applicants. And 4, evaluating candidates based on the interview responses. So let's take a quick look at Wendy. What I'm showing here is Core.ai, which is the chatbot platform's development environment, since we're still working on finalizing the front end of Wendy. So I'm going to start the chat with Wendy. And Wendy says, thanks for your interest in the QA engineer role at Randstad Direct. I'm Wendy, an AI recruiter to help Randstad Direct grow their team, yada, yada, yada. I'd like to help your elevator pitch. I'd like to hear your elevator pitch. How would you describe yourself in 2 sentences? I'm just going to say, I am awesome for now. Got it. Are you responsible for leading a teaming role? Do you have experience leading a team? And click yes. Great, will you tell me more about the experience? And I say, I was a lead QA engineer at Wade and Wendy. Okay, risk awareness, no. Which of the following have you worked with? I got Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on. I think you get the idea. So on surface, Wendy is a simple chatbot that asks you a series of questions. But under the hood, we are utilizing machine learning and NLP to automate the whole process, starting with identifying the job requirements and designing and conducting the interview and evaluating the candidates. So a bit more specifically, what we have done is we implemented and connected 4 different services. So to identify job requirements, we have a service called JD parsing service, job description parsing service, that is connected to a third-party API called Dijkstra and utilizing our internal machine learning models. To design an interview, we have a service called chat generation. And then to conduct an interview, we have a service called Chat API, which is connected to that core.ai platform that we just saw. And finally, we have an evaluation service that evaluates the candidates based on the interview responses and make a suggestion. In this presentation, I'll be focusing on the first three services and how they are connected to build the Wendy we just saw. So here is the high-level illustration of how the data is flowing through the services. As you can see, the input to this process is a job description. Once job description is ingested to our system, that's where it all starts. First, we use the JD parse service to extract information that is necessary to conduct the interview. So we call these bits of information job attributes. And we're going to look into these details later. And chat generation service, the second service, defines the dialogue by generating a series of utterances that Chatbot should make and some additional information to answer other frequently asked questions. Then the third service, the Chat API service, packages these information into a JSON format and serves into a chatbot platform. Let's look at a little bit more details of the first stage, the job attribute extraction stage, which is served by the JD parse service. So the JD parse service interacts with mainly three components. The first one is the Dijkstra API that extracts entities such as skills and degrees from each job description. And then our machine learning models classify sentence in job descriptions so that we can identify which entities are relevant to the recruiting process. For example, which skills are required or which technologies are used for the company. We also have a model to predict the difficulty to fill in the role based on attributes such as kind of the job, job location, seniority level, degree requirements, and so on, which we call complexity scores. And finally, we use knowledge graph database to store all the information. The output of the service is what we call job attributes, which is the collection of information that is used in the next stage, such as job title, industry, responsibility, and so on. The attributes with white backgrounds in the left column, the title, company, location, or mode of work comes with job description. So they are given to the JD parsing service. And the middle column, the job attributes with gray backgrounds are the ones that are extracted by the JD parse service. So industry, degree requirements, skill requirements, complexity scores, and sentence classes. The last one, the grayed out attributes, are the ones that we are currently working on extracting. Primary responsibility of the job, certification requirements, and behavioral attitude that is preferred for the job. Note that this process has an interface for the operation team members so that they can review and change the extracted job attributes before moving to the next stage. This is a quick and a little bit dirty screenshot of one of such interface where the user can review and modify the predicted complexity scores that is on the left top corner and extracted skills, which is on the right-hand side. Now that job attributes are all extracted and finalized, the second service, chat generation service, generates utterances by applying those job attributes to utterance templates. For each client, we define a series of templates of utterances. The output of this service, called chat specification, includes that series of utterances that is generated from the templates and job attributes. And they can be in various kinds, such as the intro and role descriptions, or questions to ask about different qualifications like skills, or logistics like locations and degree requirements. And then all chat specification also has some additional data for the bot to handle frequently asked questions outside those predefined utterances. We call this feature interruptions, and I will describe it further later. Here are some examples of utterance templates and utterance generated. There are three kinds of templates. The simplest one just include predefined sentences, just like the second row in the table. Hi, I'm Wendy, an AI recruiter hired to help E-Trade grow their team, yada yada. These templates will end up with the exactly same utterances for all the applications, for all the jobs for that particular client. So this is the simplest case. And the second type, which is probably the most typical one, includes sentences with placeholders that will be filled by job attributes. For example, the third row in the table, how many years of experience do you have in job industry? So this will be converted to how many years of experience do you have, for example, in finance. And similar conversion happens for a group of skills, for multiple choice questions, or job locations, and so on. The third one is a slight difference, but the tricky one. It includes placeholders that will be filled by attributes that depend on the application rather than a job description. So the easiest example is in the first row in this table, hi, person, name, which is very simple utterance, but because it depends on the application, this particular utterance must be generated in a later stage than the other examples. So we generate actual utterances in 2 stages from templates. The third stage, to execute the chat, as we saw, we are using a platform called Core.ai. And so basically, what Chat API service does is simply send all the chat specification data to the Core.ai, and in return receives the responses from the candidates. The responses may come with entities that were collected on Core's platform using built-in NER models or our custom NER models. Wendy runs those NER models whenever the user responds to her. We currently recognize entities such as years of experience, skills, degrees, location, degrees, and desired compensations, and also companies and organizations that is missing from this slide. Now, let's look at structure of the bot. At the highest level, the bot is very simple. All it does is first retrieve the specification of the dialogue, and then process the utterance one by one with just one big for loop. we made this design choice for multiple reasons. First and foremost, it would be very inefficient if we were building a chatbot for every job or even every client. So this design allows us to manage only one chatbot for all the candidates, for all the jobs, and for all the clients. And second, we would like to be less dependent on the chatbot platform and wanted to have more control of the dialogue flow by ourselves. Third, we wanted to leverage our NLP and machine learning models as well as core API, a core that AI provides, and also the other third-party vendors such as the Daxtra provides. And of course, even though it looks very simple conceptually, there are some implementation details to handle different candidates, different kinds of utterances that Wendy made. Wendy currently handles 6 kinds of utterances, simple statements or statement with confirmation, which is used most often used for opt-in questions like, are you interested in this position? List questions, often used for multiple choice questions, like multiple choice skill questions, and open questions, years of experience questions, and yes/no questions. Here's a snippet of data that is sent to the chatbot. It shows a series of utterance definitions. You can see that each utterance is defined by the actual statement that is generated from our service and the type of the utterance. It could be statement, it could be question. The question could be open question, yes/no questions, multiple choice questions, and so on. Now, what happens if the user interrupts with a question or request? For example, this is a typical opt-in question that Wendy often asks at the beginning of an interview. Are you interested in this role? And you can see that we are, of course, expecting yes or no kind of answer, but sometimes the candidate responds with somewhat unexpected, but completely relevant questions such as this, where is the job located? Wendy is capable of handling this type of question, even though they are not represented in that predefined utterance definitions that we just saw. What she does is she dynamically generates answer from the data fields that are relevant to the question. So the job is located and over Massachusetts. Does this work for you? So you can see where the Wendy got the answer from. Again, the utterance is generated based on the template and the attributes, but this time the template is managed by the core platform, core.ai platform, but not by our database. So how is this process managed? Core has a nice feature that allows users interruptions. So what it does is conceptually, every time after the response to a question, it runs an intent detection. And if the new intent is detected, it handles that intent first and then come back to the original intent. The original intent being the going through the predefined utterance, the interviews. Remember the simple loop that we saw earlier, like this one. And now you know that this has, we could do a slight modification and adding a small loop, another loop that handles the interruptions. Over the years, our chatbots have conducted hundreds of thousands of interviews, and we have identified interrupting questions and requests that user often makes. Some of such interruptions are handled by predefined utterances, such as, "What is your name?" or like, "Are you a human?" While other types of questions are really related to the job descriptions or the interview process, and those questions requires an answer to be generated based on the chat description, such as, "How many questions are there?" or "Is this a remote position?" Again, regardless the predefined utterances, Wendy can answer those questions and go back to where they were in the main dialogue flow. We believe this feature is making the interviews more natural and pleasant, and also useful in terms of the user experience. In summary, Wendy is an AI chatbot for recruit automation, and she's capable of extracting job attributes to determine the right candidates for a given role, generating the dialogue using templates and extracted job attributes, and conducting a screening interview based on the dialogue flow while allowing users to interrupt. And lastly, evaluating the candidates based on the interview responses. And if you are curious, this is a tech stack that we use. And thank you very much for your attention. And I'll be happy to answer questions. Thank you.